In this lesson, we'll be adding our text and graphic to our arrow. Okay, so we're right here where we left off, and I want to go ahead and type in the text at the present rate of destruction. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Position that. Perfect. And let's maybe change this to, instead of Adobe Garamond, let's just have this be PF'd in. I think it might look a little bit better. Make it all caps. And maybe just do a medium italic on that. Maybe open up the tracking a bit just to bring it over to that line. Much better. Okay, so at the present rate of destruction, then we have our 70% text. Now let's go ahead and just make this a 3D layer. We'll move this over into place. Rotate it around, so just grab that Z axis. Hold Shift. Let's zoom in. Scale that back down, just getting that to fit in there nicely. There you go. Okay, so once you have that positioned, let's go ahead and add our 70% text. And just so we don't have to do all of the moving around again, I'm just going to take this same at the present rate of destruction piece of text and hit Control D to copy it. And then let's just type in 70% and then just move it over here. So that's just going to be easier to deal with. Now this one I do want to be Garamond, so let's type Adobe Garamond. Let's do a bold italic and make it larger. Perfect. So just kind of lining it up with the edge of this piece and giving it about the same amount of space in between each of those. And let's go ahead and change this. So instead of it being navy, let's change it to that yellow color. And at the present rate of destruction, let's change that to our teal color.
The existence of coral. At the present rate of destruction, 70% of coral reefs may be gone in less than 40 years.
Okay, so this is looking really good. I want this text to come on as he's saying it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's not difficult. Just drop down the context here, this little twirl down arrow. And then we'll open up our text and let's figure out where he finishes saying the end of destruction. So basically when the shun in destruction comes on, that's where we want our current time indicator to be.
Present destruction. At the present rate of destruction.
Right about there. So that's when we want the last part of this to animate on. So I'm going to go ahead and hit a keyframe here for our source text. Then let's move back to where at comes on.
Just thread the existence of coral. At the
may need to zoom in a little bit more because it gets very, very precise. Right there. Okay, so what we need to do now is grab our text tool and delete everything before the present rate of destruction. Or you can hit Control X to cut it so you don't have to keep typing it over and over. Either way. Now if I scrub backwards, it's added a keyframe for me. And I'm also going to set another keyframe just before this one to not have any source text at all. So we'll just delete at completely. Or you can just trim the layer. So either way, I'm going to trim the layer also. So we'll hit Alt open bracket. So you can see that just pops on just like that.
At the present rate of destruction.
Perfect. So now we just need to go in and fill in the rest of the words. So let's figure out where he says the.
At the
right about here. So we'll just grab our text tool, put it at the end of at, and hit Control V. Make sure that space is in there. And then delete everything or Control Exit to cut. And I want to do this by syllables. So he says the present. He starts right about here, maybe here. We'll figure out which one it looks better on later, but I'll just go ahead and block it out for now. So I cut the text again, so I'll hit Control V just to paste it back. And then we'll cut this part. And I want to do it by syllables, so I'm going to take that sent back off. Right about here is where sent happens. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take this keyframe and drag it forward. Then we can come back here and copy and paste it, hit Control C, Control V. Make sure it's this one. And we can just, if you're having trouble getting that to work, you can always just type it in as well. And we can just take sent out. Present. Now let's figure out where he says rate. Move forward. Right about here. Rate. That's just one syllable, so we don't need to worry about breaking that word. Right about here. He doesn't say it very clearly, but it'll come together once you're seeing it and hearing it at the same time. We'll go ahead and put in the des in destruction. Truck. And then we already have the shun.
Rate of destruction. At the present rate of destruction, 7.
There you go. So it's a little bit tedious to get it perfect, but it really looks nice when you finish it up. I'm going to hit the B key just to trim that work area, and we'll watch a RAM preview.
At the present rate of destruction, 70% of. At the present rate of destruction, 70% of. At the present rate of destruction, 70% of.
Great. So that's looking really nice. I'm really happy just with the way that this works. So now I just want to animate on that 70%. I'm just going to do it using a simple scale animation. So right when he says 70%, we'll just pop that on there.
At the present rate of destruction.
So it's going to be right about here. We'll go ahead and select the layer, hit Alt open bracket to trim it to that point. And let's have it kind of pop out almost as if it's coming from this arrowhead. So it's almost as if it came on here and then popped down to here. So let's move our anchor point so that it comes from that direction. Select your layer, hit the S key. That's at 57.3% right now. So we'll drag that forward, take it down to 0. Let's move forward about 10 frames. And we'll say, if it was at 57, let's put it at 59. And then we'll just pull this back in. So we get a nice little recoil. Let's select all of these and give them some easy ease. We can go up to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. Beautiful. Okay, so this is looking really great. The only thing I want to add now is that graphic that I'm going to put down here in the lower corner. And this part's going to be really easy. All we have to do is come up here to our infographic split. I'm going to use this green piece of coral that you see right here. So just grab that, hit Control C to copy. We'll go to our 3D camera movement comp, and we'll just paste it right above. Go ahead and turn on your 3D and your motion blur and your collapse transformations. Make this a little bit bigger. Let's rotate it on the Z-axis. And then just kind of place it nicely down here in the corner. And let's go backwards so it's not sticking over into our other comp too far. Just like that. Maybe just a bit more over and down. And one thing you could do if you're really concerned about that is if you've got it really, really close, right where this animation begins for your camera on this keyframe, you can just select that graphic layer right here, the cabbage layer, and hit Alt open bracket to trim your layer so you don't see it until that animation comes in. Very nice. Perfect. Okay, it looks like our arrow may have stopped animating, so let's take a look at that. Select that layer, hit the U key, and you could just drag this keyframe out and the whole thing will go more slowly, or you could select your keyframe, drag it out, and then increase that number. I think it actually might look nice for it to go a little more slowly though. So just kind of right in there. You can tweak that more if you need to, but the speed of that I think doesn't matter too much as long as you can just see that it's moving and it doesn't look crazy fast or anything like that. So in this lesson, we animated our text to speech using the source text option for text layers. We also animated on our 70% and added a graphic just to kind of make the whole thing look a little bit prettier. In our next lesson, we're going to continue moving with the direction of this arrow to show kind of the breakdown of that coral. So we have a lot of coral graphics in our infographic split comp over here, these pieces right here, and I think it'd be really nice to show maybe some of this healthy coral and then have less and less of it and then move on to some of this more dead looking coral over time. So that's just really going to help to reinforce that point that the coral is being destructed. So we're going to learn how to do that and how to animate our camera a little bit more in our next lesson.